Welcome back. I hope you guys had a great Monday. Today was an interesting day in the miners, nonetheless. They were pumping in the morning, and then within like an hour to 2 hours into the trading day, they were coming down. Bitcoin was coming down a little bit too, but Bitcoin still did pretty well, all things considered. We reached a new all-time high. Sorry for the correction here. Bitcoin did get to 123,000. I had 122,000 in the thumbnail. My mistake. I was going off memory here. I probably should have looked it up before I put that in. But we'll look at obviously the miners, how they did today. We'll look at the market in Bitcoin and Ethereum. We'll look at some of the other treasury companies. We'll also look at the stats on the miners for June, right? How many sats they mine per share, per hodl, all those things. And we'll also take a look at the latest short data that we have on the miners as well. So we got quite a few things to cover, and then we'll get into also Riot. Riot sold some more shares of Bitfarms. We'll cover that. We have a bunch of good news stories for Bitcoin also that are bullish, I think, and we got Q&A. So we got get through this. And let me see, where's it? There it is. As always, not financial advice, for him only. Do your own research. Please, please, please do that. And then always, my full disclosure below that. Hit the like button, subscribe, helps me out tremendously. And it doesn't cost you anything, just a click. So let's take a look at what's going on here with Bitcoin right now as it is. Bitcoin obviously had a really nice day yesterday. For the most part, it was up huge. We reached a new all-time high of 123,231.07. This is on Coinbase at least. We were up a lot more percentage-wise than where we ended up, but we were only up 0.62% on the day for Bitcoin. It closed at 119,863. We obviously had the highest weekly close here on Sunday as well. We talked about that in yesterday's stream as well. So that's happening there, and Bitcoin's correcting here a little bit right now. We do have a gap on the CME futures for Bitcoin. This is going back to Thursday and Friday, right? We do have that gap between roughly 114 and 115.5, something like that. Like I said before, I think we can still run up here more before we fill this gap in, but we might actually come down and fill this gap. So something to keep in mind as well. Markets, for the most part, were in the green today. Ethereum was also, let's see here, in the green. It got up to a high today of 3,083, closed at 3,014. So it's come back down here. What else do we have? Miners. Like I said, the miners were kind of all over the place. In the morning, they were up nicely. It was nice to see. It's like, yay, you know, they're doing great. And then within 2 hours, like, ugh, what the heck is going on there? So a couple of thoughts are on that is the shorts, market makers, are obviously doing what they're going to be doing here, trying to bring these things down a little bit. They did get their butt spanked a little bit in the beginning of the month, right, where the miners went up 40, 50, 60% or more. So they got kind of, well, they got to make it right. So they're making it right now, trying to keep these guys down. But it also seemed like they started running down before even Bitcoin was starting to come down here. So maybe that was just a little front action on that part. We could also have some tourists in here that are possibly offloading right now as pricing on these guys get up higher to possibly where they were buying. So we might be seeing that as well, right? They're getting back to at least even, and people are leaving because it is a volatile space. We know that. We've been through this for quite a while. I've been doing this now. Oh gosh, I started investing in these guys back in 2017 with Hive at least. I've been through it plenty of times. I know what to expect more or less. And the volatility is still gut-wrenching at times. Right, the huge ups and the huge downs can definitely spook a lot of people. So I'm not surprised by that. And to be honest, I don't blame them. It's not for the faint of heart for sure. All right, but the miners here, Bitfarms was only up today 0.93%. You can see it was up higher than that. It reached a high today of $1.16. BitDeer was only up 2.04 cents. Obviously, it got up much higher. Same thing, came back down. Was up a little bit as well, so that was good. Kang was down 3% today after being up much higher at 575 and coming back down. Cypher was up only 2.73. Same thing with that one, up higher in the morning hours and came back down throughout the day. Cleanspark, same thing, down 0.4%. This thing was up like 8% at one point during the day, then just came back. It got to a high of 1366. CORZ got up 8.39, so that one's kind of bouncing back up a little bit, so that's nice to see. Hive was basically flat on the day. Sorry, Hot 8 was up a little bit, 1.33%. It got to a high of 23.56, right, and then came back down. IREN was up 6.47%. Same thing. It seems like there's kind of like a barrier here for IREN at least, right around 1860, 1850, something like that. That just keeps trying to poke through that barrier there. And eventually, I think it might actually do that. Mara was up 0.37% today. Mara got to 2150 today. It was up nicely today as well in the morning hours, and then it just fell back down. Riot was up just a little bit, 0.72%. Same story with them, up huge in the morning, came back down. Wolf, a little bit different story on that one. That one was up 4.5. It did go up a little bit here, but not as high as some of the other ones, and then it pulled back down as well. So that's the miners in a nutshell, more or less, on that. It was just a weird day on it. And Bitcoin coming down here, so maybe that was part of it as well. MicroStrategy was up 3.78. Galaxy was up 4%. Coin was up 1.8. Who else do we have here that was up? PNIX was up 9.62. GameStop was up 1.59. Small miners were up nicely. Canon, for some reason, it was up huge, 34%. I checked the news on it this morning. I didn't see anything. I don't know if you guys saw anything on that one, but this was just from 12 hours ago. Asian equities traded. That was just a story on that this thing is pumping. Not sure why. If you guys know anything about that one, put it down in the comments for sure. And then the ETFs were actually in the green here, so that was actually nice. My retirement account loves that. As far as the Ethereum holding companies here, a lot of them were down. Some of them were up. So BTBT was actually down 1.2%. BTCS was down 10%. Plus BMNR was up just a little bit here, almost 1%. GAIN was down 7.78%. SBET was up actually 10.3%. So SBET did pretty good there. We'll see how they continue to do going forward on that one. Let's take a look at the miners here. Where are they in the after hours right now, or the pre-hours, whatever you want to call it? Overnight hours. BitDeer is up a little bit, 1.33%. Bitfarms is down 1.85%. Kengo is up 1.35%. Cypher down 1.82%. Cleanspark down 1.27%. And we got Core being up 1%, 1.03%. Hive actually down 1.79%. Hut 8 being down 0.45%. IREN, if it loads, 0.35%. Mawson was down 1.67 right now as it is. And Riot's down 1.68, followed by TeraWolf here being down 0.2%. So we're starting off in the red, at least on the after hours. We'll see where they end up tomorrow, where Bitcoin ends up and everything else at that point. Bitcoin right now for the month of July is still up 10.2%, so we're still doing pretty good here, in line with what we have seen in the past with nice bull cycles here, so that's looking good. Bitcoin ETF inflows might be negative unless we get IBIT buying up some more here. So IBIT would have to buy at least over 97.3 million in order for it to be a positive day and have a continuation on what we have seen here. So we'll see what that one comes in like tomorrow for it, but we had, who was it that was selling? Fidelity was selling, it looks like 26 million. Bitwise bought a little bit, 7.2. We had ARK also selling about 99, almost 100 million there, as it is. So let's get into the good news stories that we do have here. We do have a couple of those. Breaking Kazakhstan central bank chief says country exploring selling gold reserves to buy Bitcoin. Nations buying at all-time highs. It's coming, right? Oh, excuse me. I had a little burp there. But we're seeing that more and more. It's going to continue on here. We're at that adoption curve where we're about to go parabolic, I think. We're slowly getting there, but every time we see this kind of news story, what are we going to see with Bitcoin price? It's going to go up. Next year, Federal Reserve and the U.S. regulators issue statements saying banks are allowed to custody Bitcoin and crypto. There's also a new ISO that the banks can now use. I think it's 10,022, I think. I could be off on that by a number or two. But it's right around there. They can now use also other systems than SWIFT. Possibilities for that are HBAR, XRP. I think Cardano's in there as well as a possibility. So there's other means that they could transact between each other. That way, that's going to be good. Then we have here, this is a story on BitDigital here. So not really Bitcoin, but I just thought this was interesting here. This is from Matthew Siegel. BitDigital subsidiary White Fiber files for IPO under ticker WYFI. BitDigital would retain 80% post-IPO ownership. They cite 4,500 NVIDIA GPUs and a 4 megawatt Tier 3 Montreal data center, 3 new sites, and possibility of 1,300 megawatts under review with marquee customers like Cerebras and Boosteroid. So that's going to be interesting there. I got to dive a little bit more deeper into that, what it's going to actually entail. I think they're trying to get about $100 million out of the IPO here on this one. So we'll see what that comes out to, but that should be good for BitDigital in the long run. Them spinning this off into a separate entity as well should help them out there, and they're going to become basically a Ethereum treasure company. No more Bitcoin mining for them as well. So we'll see. We'll keep an eye on them. Next year, publicly traded Metador Technologies files to raise up to 900 million Canadian to accelerate its Bitcoin plans. So they're going to be buying more Bitcoin as well. So, right, companies stacking. Bitcoin going to be going up. Next year, Grayscale files confidentially for U.S. IPO with the SEC. They're going to be buying more Bitcoin as well. Next here, Michael Saylor, they continue to buy every single week without fail. It's like clockwork with them. Strategy has acquired another 4,225 Bitcoin for $472.5 million at 111,827 per Bitcoin and has achieved BTC yield of 20.2% year to date. As of 7/13, they hodl 601,550 Bitcoin acquired for $42.87 billion at an average price of 71,268 per coin. All I can say is thank you. Keep it up. It's going to help push our bags up a lot higher. So I'm definitely very thankful for Michael Saylor and company there for continuing to buy it and setting basically the gold standard on how to do it in the space. They were the pioneers, and we have a lot to thank to them, I believe, from what they have done here. So that's awesome to see. Also, MetaPlanet buys another 797 Bitcoin worth $95 million. They now hold 16,352 Bitcoin worth $1.95 billion. All right, stacking sats. We're seeing a lot of companies stacking sats, and we're going to talk about some sats on the miners as well here shortly. Next here, Bitcoin overtakes Amazon to become the 5th largest asset by market cap in the world. I don't know if it's still the case here. It might be. They were obviously pretty close. So Bitcoin's at 2.39 billion market cap, Amazon 2.38. Next online is going to be Apple, 3.15 billion. Bitcoin probably at around 160,000. We'll probably beat that. Then we got Microsoft, not too far off from that, probably closer to around 200,000 at this point. With Bitcoin price, we could probably beat them. Then we got Nvidia, and then finally, our final opponent is gold. Once we get past gold, we are going to be living on yachts, if that's the case. Because at that point, Bitcoin has to be probably well over a couple $1 million, I think, if we run the math on it. I mean, we're at 2 billion right now. It's 10x from here. Yeah, you're looking at basically, would it be $1 million? No, it would have to be more than that, right? It would be 10x from where we are right now. Price-wise, we're looking at possibly, would it be 10 million? Is my math correct, or is it $1 million? Correct me on that one. I'm doing it off the top of my head here, but this is all good news stories that we are seeing here in Bitcoin, and they are just keep coming in, day out, pretty much. So I love seeing that, and I just want to share those with you guys as well. Next, let's get into Riot here. So Riot has provided us with a little update as far as how many shares they now have of Bitfarms here. So Riot Platforms Inc. reports beneficial ownership of 10.29% in Bitfarms Ltd. So that's down from the 12 point something that they had just a couple weeks ago. So they are continuing to sell here as we've been talking about. Let's see here. Right now, it says on July 14th, it sold 1,784 common shares. The sold shares were sold through normal CORZ sales on the NASDAQ market and other open market trades for a weighted average price of approximately $1.13 per sold share. So they were definitely selling quite a bit here today, right? Today's the 14th, yeah. So they were selling at a higher price, which is nice at least. They gave it maybe a little bit of a pause there before they did pull on that trigger and sell more. But obviously they're down to 10.29% here over here before they were selling. So this is immediately prior to the sales of the common shares, giving rise to the issuance of this press release. Riot beneficially owned 58.99 million basically of common shares, representing approximately 10.61 of the issued and outstanding common shares. So they're slowly but surely dwindling down their stack of Bitfarm shares, and that's only going to continue here for the next couple weeks, couple months, I think, before they're completely out. All right, they give the customary boilerplate here. Riot intends to review its investment in the company but on a continuing basis. We've pretty much know that they've pretty much made up their mind here. They're selling all the shares here. Just how long and when it's going to, time duration, how long it's going to take is going to be the interesting part here, right? Hopefully they can do this relatively quickly, and then finally Bitfarms can breathe a little bit and actually go up in value, right? So love to see that. All right, so that's that for Riot and Bitfarms update really quick, and let's get into the sats for the Bitcoin miners here for the month of June here. So we looked at how many stats did they mine, how many Bitcoin they mined, divided by the number of shares here. So this is stats mined per share. And you can see here, based on June numbers here, we got IRES having about 276 sats per share there that is being mined on your behalf. Kango came in as number 2 spot with 254 there. And the number of shares that I have for them is questionable, so that might be off a little bit. So remember, Kango is a new one that I just added, so I don't have a lot of data on them yet. The data is only about 6 months worth, and I'm not 100% certain on the number of shares outstanding there. Cleanspark came in number 3 spot with 244 sats per share. Marathon 197, Riot 126, BitDeer 103, Hive 99, CORZ Scientific 51, and Cypher 39 there. So Cypher has a lot of shares definitely out there. Huddle sats per share. Marathon, you're going to get the most out of it, right? Each share has basically 14,190 sats of Bitcoin in it. Riot with 5,395, Cleanspark 4,488, Kango with 2,189, BitDeer 763, Hive 368, and that's questionable too. I don't have the latest data on them. The data that I do have is like 600 and some odd Bitcoin, and that's probably like 2 months old now. So that's questionable there. CORZ Scientific 328, Cypher 286, IREN does not have anything, and I still have them here as Iris. They will forever be in my heart as Iris, or as some people used to call them, IREN. Okay, BTC per exahash here. So more efficient, higher number, right? Hive came in number 1 with 14.38. And there was another news story here. I forgot to put this in. Hive actually got to 12 exahash today. They reported that, so I forgot to put that down on here. I just remembered about this. So congrats to the Hive team getting 12 exahash. They're going to be getting 25 exahash by the end of the year here, possibly before the end of, well, before we get the U.S. Thanksgiving, which is going to be November, third week in November, something like that. Kango came in second with 14.18. Also, one thing to remember about Kango, they don't own any sites. It's all hosted there, right? So just remember that. Cleanspark 13.7, Riot 12.68, IREN 12.4, BitDeer 12.3, Marathon 11.9, CORZ Scientific 10.3, and Cypher 9.5. Cypher definitely, and along with Marathon and CORZ Scientific, they curtailed quite tremendously here in the month of June. So that's kind of where we're stacking on the sats right now. Okay. Next, let's take a look at the shorted information that we do have on these guys. This is as of June 30th. This is the latest data that I have on them. Probably should have put Kango over here. But Kango, like I said, Kango I only have like one. No, I have a little bit more than that. I have a couple weeks of Kango data on the short interest information. So that's in here now. The current number of shares shorted, obviously the most shorted is Marathon, based on shares alone, 89 million there, followed by Riot, 83 million, Cleanspark, 70 million, and then we got Core at 52, Cypher at 53, IREN at 32, BitDeer at 20, and Hive at 8.7 million shares shorted. Based on the average of percentage of average floated short, Kango is about 1.9, Hive 4.8%, IREN 14%, Core 20%, Cypher 23, Riot 25%, along with Cleanspark 25 and 3/4, Marathon 26, and BitDeer being the most shorted here right now at 26.7. So we have seen some increases and some decreases in these guys from last time, which was about 2 weeks ago when we covered these guys. You have the share shorted value versus market cap. So Marathon has the most shares. You guys can take a look at that. I'm not going to get into it too deep. Number of shares shorted changed from last time. So right from the last time we did it was about 2 weeks ago. Cypher saw an increase of 8.8 million shares. Core 5.3 million. IREN 3, almost 4 million there. Cleanspark just a slight increase, 0.48 million. Hive as well, a slight increase, 0.34. Kango actually came down about, what was it, 10,000? Something like that, 100,000 down. 10,000. BitDeer was down 1 million. Riot was down 1.1 million. And Marathon was down 7.3 million. So we had some shorts getting out of some of these guys here and more shorts getting added into some of these guys here. All right. Percentage from last time. So what is that increase in percentage-wise? Well, Cypher obviously up 19% on the short interest, followed by IREN at 13, Core at 11%, Hive at 4%, Cleanspark up just a little bit, 0.68, Riot down 1.38, BitDeer down 4.8, and Marathon being down as well, 7.5% there. If we look at the price from 12 weeks ago, right, we can see that the IREN has done very well, up 190%, Cypher up 147%, Riot 92, Core 88, BitDeer 73, Cleanspark 68, Hive 54, Marathon 51, 43% for Kango. So a lot of these guys have been doing really well here, basically at the bottom of April when they bottomed out here. And then here is their kind of historical data on the shorts. Go back to the number 1 spot here, BitDeer. You can see that it's been going up, but it's slowly coming back down on them. You got Kango, which has very little share shorted right now as it is. Cypher, continuation to see an uptrend here on the number of shares shorted. That is interesting. Cleanspark, we definitely peaked around 90 million shares shorted, and then it's been coming down here, except we had a little uptick here this last update. Core has been kind of in the 47, 46 million range, but it's definitely come up here to 52. And this was definitely before the announcement of the deal with CoreWeave there. We'll see what that's going to look like once we get an update for middle of this month, which is going to be for July 15th, I believe, which we'll get towards the end of the month. And then we got Hive here. Hive peaked at around 11.17 million and it's been coming down as well. So I think as they're executing on their growth to 25 exahash, that might be helping them get a little bit less shorts. IREN kind of up and down here each month, but it has been increasing over the last couple months for them. And then we got Marathon here kind of all over the place as well. They peaked at 96.84 million here just last update. The current update, obviously we're seeing them come down a little bit to 89.52 million on it. And that is it on the shorts. So shorts are still prevalent. They're not going away. They will obviously mess with us as best they can, and which I don't get it, right? Why short something when it can only go down 100% when these guys are not going to be going down 100%? So your best bet is to go long on these guys, in my opinion at least. You could at least get 2, 3, maybe 4x out of these things, if not more. So there's more upside. Potentially there's possibly more money to make that way. But I know that they hedge their bets, and this is what they do, and it is what it is, right? We got to contend with it. We got to deal with it. We got to kind of be patient about it and wait our time out until they do finally maybe switch bullish on these guys. All right, that is it. Spreadsheets available to my Patreon members. As always, link for that is down in the description. Love all my members there and love all you guys here as well on YouTube for the support. A couple bucks a month and you get access to the private Discord server there as well. So that's my sales pitch. Let's get into Q&A. All right. And we'll see what you guys have to say, if anything at all. All right. Let's see. Hopefully this works. Will the chart pop? It is popping up. Okay. It is working tonight. So as always, if you could preface the questions with a question mark or a Q, I would appreciate it. I'm going to scroll my way up and search for some questions here. I know that Chris and Marcus and Sarmelon have been having a quite lovely conversation there earlier on. Let's see. What else? Trying to find the first comment there or question. All right. Okay, Roger's got a question. Bitcoin breaks all-time high, entering price discovery. Cleanspark languishing at 50% from all-time high. BTC makes a surge to 200,000. Cleanspark at $15. What's your next move? I'd be selling, right? If they're still stuck at 15 bucks at that point, I'd be selling. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I think they're going to go up higher along with Bitcoin right now. I mean, they had a nice run-up. They were up 40% plus beginning the first week of July, right? And then we've seen, obviously, last week, the miners were kind of down for the most part. Bitcoin doing a little bit better. This week, we're starting out a little mixed on the miners. Some are down, some are up. So we'll see where we end up the week here. But I believe they are going to run here. Okay, YKY says, miners not pumping like they used to, up 15 to 20% a day during the end of 2023 and 2024, even while BTC is hitting all-time highs now. Losing hope of them passing their previous high. Don't lose hope just yet, right? Give it the next couple more months to see where we end up by the end of the year here. But we're seeing some action in miners, right? Like I said, first week of July, what did we see? We saw a bunch of miners being up 40, 50, 60% up, while Bitcoin was only up 1%. So we do get these kind of spurts of huge momentum and growth in these guys, and then we languish for a little bit before they run up again. So at least we're seeing some positive signs, at least right now. Right from the bottom of April, miners have been outperforming Bitcoin here quite nicely, kind of like we've seen in other cycles as well. Marcus says, I knew Cam was going to run. Yeah, I mean, if you guys picked Cam, is there any news on it? What the heck's going on with it? Why is it up today 34%? Or is it just its turn to run today, like some of the other miners have run? Let's see here. Guy says BTC went to 123 and Cleanspark at 13. Really? Looks like Cleanspark will only reach $20. BTC goes to 300,000. LOL. Seriously, do you think Cleanspark can do it 2x from here this year? Yeah, I still think so. Right? All we need is a couple of days where it's up 5, 10%, or not even now. All we need is a couple of days where it's up 5% for, what would that be? Right? Compounding interest, if you go up 5% over maybe 20 days or something like that. Doesn't have to be all in a line. It can just be more or less somewhere in the span of a couple months, right? We can definitely do a 2x. Let's let's see, TXMMY. Miners are basically just day trading stocks. If you are holding long, then you might as well check into a mental institution. I've been holding them for 3 years. I should be probably the lead candidate for a mental evaluation then at that point. Right? But I'm up on the miners, so I can't complain. I got into them. At higher prices, but I had dollar cost average down, which helped tremendously here. So now I'm in the green, right? I'm up 140% on Cleanspark, 18% on IREN, and I still think I can double that going forward here. All right. Morton's got a question. Your Cleanspark performance year to date, last 30 and last 90 days is better than Mara, Riot, and Bitfarms, but trailing Cypher and IREN. Sentiment is horrible for Cleanspark. Is this logical? Right. I mean, like you said, it performed pretty good so far this year. It didn't go down as much as some of the other miners did go down. It kept in line with kind of where Bitcoin was, more or less. And then since April, it has done much better here. It will change, right? There's no dilution in Cleanspark. We do have a lot of shorts in them still. It's just a matter of time. But we saw them run up nicely already. So a couple of days of trading sideways or going down a little bit. I'll take that for a couple of nice more days of going up 10%, 15%, or even 40% in a week. Bitcoin 82. If Bitcoin goes to 2x, most miners will do less than the 2x market cap. Minus share will depend on dilution. Yeah, depending on how much they dilute, right? But also depends on how much growth they have there. We know Cleanspark's not diluting. At least that's what they stated as. For this year, they don't plan to dilute. So that should help at least the stock there. Other ones, yes, they're still diluting. They're going with the convertible notes as well. There's many ways to fund their growth and operations. Dilution is part of it. Okay. Roger says, you assume miners will move. Miners have already moved. I mean, look where we were in April. Look where we are now. Look where Bitcoin was in at April and where it is now. Right? Miners have outperformed Bitcoin since then. Sadie, as always, thank you so much for the thumbs up and the likes. Let's see. TXMMY says Bitcoin keeps pumping on the weekend and after hours, and then the market opens. It either consolidates or drops, and the miners take it's really annoying. That's the market for you, right? The market can be longer, irrational, than you can stay solvent. So you just gotta kind of weather the storm there and be patient. What else do we have? Roger says the best hold this cycle is BTC itself and MSTR. Yeah, I mean the cycle's not over yet though. So I mean, if we were counting the cycle ending right now, then yes, Bitcoin and MicroStrategy would have probably been the best. Except, I think IREN could possibly have beaten out MicroStrategy. I believe if we look at it from the bottom, I would have to look at it, but I think IREN would actually be the one that beat out MicroStrategy there, and Bitcoin too. All right. NG, can Bitfarm rocket, please? What is going on? Riot selling shares. That's what's going on there. Once that's done, I think it will start going back up. All right. Okay. B82 question on your stats charts. What's time frame in is the sats mined per share? That's for last month. So whatever they mined, right, in Bitcoin divided by the number of shares they have, that's how you get this basically stats mined per share. Halo Bomb has a question. Have you seen Trump is investing $70 billion into AI infrastructure, announcing tomorrow? I saw that they're announcing something. Is it set in stone? There's going to be $70 billion, but I believe it's in Pennsylvania and Pittsburgh, I think. That's where they're going to be investing it. So that's going to be good. Obviously, maybe Bitfarms can benefit from that, seeing how they are in Pennsylvania. So we'll see. Fairfax says no Soluna. No Soluna. I do not cover Soluna. Halo Bomb, yeah, includes data centers and power grid investments. Yeah, so like I said, maybe Bitfarms could benefit from that. We'll see. Fairfax says this morning was a good time to take profits. Yeah, I mean, a lot of these guys were up nicely this morning, and then they came back down. Let's see. Morton says, interesting that Bitcoin mining stock guy is now a paid shill influencer for a Chinese food company that wants to be a Bitcoin treasury company. I saw that, and good for him if he can get it. I don't know if they pay him anything, or I'm sure they got to pay him something. But he's basically a brand sponsor or something. What do they call that? Something like that. But if you can make some money on it, and as long as he does nothing unethical, I have no problem with it. Let's see. What do you think of price prediction for Canon? I have no idea. I don't track them, so it's kind of hard to tell you guys where I would think they would be. I know that they have obviously their own ASICs that they manufacture. They have also hosting that they do, and then they also self-mine a little bit as well. I think they also have a little bit of a hodl there, but I don't know what their growth is. I don't know. I just don't know enough about them, unfortunately. All right, TXMMY question: have miners become a day trader's dream? Stock with the volatility, holding long with dilution in Bitcoin halvings makes no sense. Well, it makes sense at certain times, right? After the halvings, once they build out to where they're going to be built out, Bitcoin price going up nicely. And then also, you got to remember that this time around, we may not have that bear market with these guys. So we could see these guys being profitable for a much longer period of time than when they were in the past. In the past, the miners had basically maybe 3-4 quarters where they were actually nicely profitable, and then Bitcoin would, turn its head on them and go south, and at that point they'd be bleeding money again. So if Bitcoin doesn't go down 80%, it only goes down maybe 20 or 30%, and then continues to go up in an extended cycle, which I think we might have here. That might mean that the miners might actually be profitable for a couple years potentially, as long as they keep their costs down, right? Do the right things. It's going to be a different cycle. So just something to think about there. All right, Andre, we're going to need to hold 115,900, or we're going back down to 110,000. If that doesn't hold, it's going to be really ugly. Yeah, I would agree with you there. 115, I think, is where we have the CME futures gap on it, if I'm not mistaken. I know it's like, where is it at? CME futures gap is between 114.35 and 115.720, somewhere around there. So yeah, if we can hold that, we might dip down that and bounce. I'd be fine with that. Just a little correction, go back up. I should probably point this out to you guys on the screen here. Probably make it easier, right? If we can fill this gap here and bounce, that'd be great. RSI on the daily has definitely come down here, which means we could possibly run up a little more. The weekly has come down a little bit more. We could still definitely run here, so I'm not saying it has to be filled, but if it does, it does. I'm not too worried about it, right? Are you a short-term investor in Bitcoin, or are you long-term? I'm a long-term investor. I've been in Bitcoin since 2017. I would have had a heck of a lot more Bitcoin if I had tried not to trading it, tried to outsmart the market, because the market kicked my butt, and I ended up with less Bitcoin at that point, so I actually lost quite a bit. So I'm in it for the long run. Once it gets to $1 million plus, that's when I might consider selling it, or if I don't need it, I'll just hold on to it at that point. It's going to be a nice retirement for myself, or something nice for my kids and grandkids to have later on when I'm no longer on this wonderful planet that we have. But that's kind of the plan there. So I don't really care. If I have money, I will probably continue to buy in Bitcoin. I haven't bought Bitcoin in a long time. Probably should be doing that as well. But I got into the miners thinking that the miners would outperform Bitcoin with better gains. We'll see if that's still going to be the case here in the next 6 months, right? Do the miners outperform or not? But I'll still be up though, more or less, unless the miners and Bitcoin tanks from here. So might have been in for the long run, so I'm not too worried about it. All right, let's go back here. Okay. All right. Neil says, Bitfarms has green and environmental friendly business model. They take the green from investors, feed it to the farm animals using share-based compensation who produce biogas to power the mining operation. Okay, that's a nice metaphor there, or a way to do it. Comparison. All right. BT's got a question here. Given the halving and the hash rate increase, what price does BTC need to reach to be equal daily value for mining as it was pre-halving? Seems it is minimum 2x, but the increased difficulty 2x more. Good question. I'll have to run the numbers on it, right? Where were we at prior to the halving as far as what their revenues were at that point? But also they had a lot of these guys had older equipment as well. They have gotten newer equipment right now. We can see that I think Bitcoin at that point was, when we had the halving, where was it? Like 60-some thousand, 50-some thousand when we had the halving event. So at that point, we would need it to be at least a double, right? So 100-some thousand. And on top of that, the network hash rate increase and difficulty as well. And I think you need to be up another 40% from there, I think, to be somewhat equivalent, more or less. I think. This is just going off the top of my head here, trying to do the math in an old brain. Okay, Marcus says, have you looked into the Genius Act and other law maybe going into the House tomorrow? Yeah, the Genius Act is going to be really good, not only for miners, but everything else in crypto. We'll see what part of it actually passes, if not all of it, if they get any changes in that. So once we get some clarification and actually some definitive answer on what's going to be in there, we'll comment on it, obviously, at that point. Rusty says it's Groundhog Day again. Yeah, Bitcoin up, miners down. See, Marcus says this week may be big for Bitcoin. Yeah, we got the CME, not the CME, CPI data coming out tomorrow, I believe, right? We also have the bills that we're talking about here. So it might be an interesting week for us. We'll see. So maybe we're having a little correction before we run up. That would be nice to see. All right, more Tim's got a question here. What do you expect for Cleanspark's next earnings? Are the last earnings miss and the large Bitcoin sales dragging the stock down? I don't think that is. I think they should be, I don't know exactly where, but I'm guessing a couple of cents positive on the EPS without the HODL impact on it, the FSB impact. And on top of the FSB, that should help them out. I'm guessing somewhere maybe around $1 positive EPS, somewhere on there. I just don't know how much they're going to put in for share-based compensation, how much they're going to put in for depreciation as well. Those things obviously have an impact on it as well. So we'll see. But I expect them to be positive nonetheless. All right. B82 says all the miners were in the green. Average cost minus Bitfarms was my last loser, but now a winner. Nice. Okay, very nice. See? I don't know if you dollar cost average into it or not, but yeah, that definitely helps out. All right, Dynamite Uber says losing hope that miners will move up significantly as BTC is going to 250,000. Okay, again, you guys need to take a look at where the miners are now and where Bitcoin was at the beginning of April. They are starting to outperform it. Let me see if I can pull that chart up. Let me see, where's it at? Stock performance on these guys here. So let's take a look at it here. Yep. All right, here it is. Basically from Trump tariffs, right? I like to look at a bunch of different time frames as well, just to kind of gauge them how they're doing. So it's not just one time frame. But from April, beginning of April, when Trump announced his beautiful tariffs, IREN's up 155%, Cypher 127%, Hut 8 65%, Cleanspark 57%, Riot 55%, Core Scientific up 61%, Marathon 54%, Hive is up 42%, along with BitDeer. Bitcoin's only up 26%. All of these guys have been outperforming here. So if this continues going forward, and we see at least, it looks like we're getting at least a 2x multiple on these guys here, at least in the last, well, we got April, May, June, so basically 3 months or less. If we can see the same thing happening here on them going forward, we should do pretty good here by the end of the year, right? So things are looking a little bit better here in the last 3 months on the performance of the miners. But they've also gotten beaten down a heck of a lot more than Bitcoin did, right? Bitcoin went down 30%, but the miners went down 40, well, actually like 50, 60, 70% down, some of these guys. So they're kind of catching back up from that. And yes, they're not still at the all-time highs that they reached in 2024 before we had the halving event and Bitcoin was pumping to 73,000. I will give you that. So we'll see where they end up by the end of the year here. All right. Forgore. What did you look like with hair? Well, in high school, I had longer hair. It was like down to here. And then later on, as I got older and started getting shorter and shorter and shorter, then eventually it just all fell out. Well, not all of it. Top of it is all out. Sides, I still have it. Right now, if I try to grow my hair, it's probably going to be gray. And if I grow it out long enough, I'm probably going to look like Gallagher. So, yeah, but the interesting part is I had thick hair, but you don't control the genes that you get. So you make the best out of it, and you live on, right? So I've gotten used to this. I actually enjoy being bald. I don't have to worry about my hair at all. I just go in the shower when I shave my head every night, and I'm ready to go the next day. It's just nice. The only thing is I got to watch out for like burning my scalp in the summer months. So I got to either wear a hat or I need to put on like sunscreen on it. That's the only thing. But other than that, it's pretty nice. The YKY says, Dynamite Uber miners will explode up 3% when Bitcoin hits 150. You guys are pretty pessimistic here. You guys got to have a little bit more conviction, a little bit more, I guess conviction, I guess is the word I'm looking for maybe. Let's see. All right. FireX Freak, given Bitfarms' recent pivot to AI and HPC infrastructure, along with their presence in Pennsylvania, is there a chance they could be involved in Trump's $70 billion AI energy investment? There is always a chance, right? We don't know. They do have the sites there. Those sites might be opportunistically positioned in a well place, and it might bode well for them. We don't know. We'll find out in a couple months, maybe half a year or something like that. But yeah, they're in a nice spot there. So hopefully they can take advantage of it. All right. Andre says, I think we're in big trouble tomorrow with the miners and MicroStrategy. Well, Bitcoin is coming down here. It's 117,000 right now. It's having a little bit of pullback. Is it going to be the end of the world? No, probably not. A little bit of pullback. Again, like I said, RSI is coming down on it, so that's at least good there. We're seeing it on the daily chart, right? It's below 70 here. 4-hour chart, let's take a look at that one. Where's it at? It's at 50 right now. I mean, look at this. 50 was last time we were back here. We were at 108,000, right? So we're nicely above that. 1-hour chart, oh, excuse me. We're below 30 now, so we're looking a little bit oversold, so we might get a little bounce here. 50 minutes, same thing. It's looking a little oversold here, but we're seeing continuation of decline here in the price, while the RSI is still more or less at the same spot here. So we might come down a little bit more before we maybe bounce off of that. But that's just the way I look at it. And we'll see. And it could be just people front running the CPI data tomorrow, right? And then the CPI data comes out pretty good, and then we run. So, or we could go the other way. CPI data could be bad, and we go down here to 108,000, whatever it might be, before we run back up. And that would be, let me see, what kind of correction would that be? If we go down to 108,000 on it from where we were, from the top here, what kind of correction would that be? Let's see here, from right around there, we are down right now about 5%, going down to 108,000. That would be a 12% correction or more or less. 30%, which is what we've normally seen here, would be all the way down to, why did it stop going? Oh. Let me see, 30% would bring us down to about 86,000 on it from the top. That's why I think we won't see that type of correction until we're maybe closer to 150,000 at that point, right? If we go down from 150,000, let me see if I can pull this in here on a chart. Hopefully, maybe. Okay, let's see if that works. If we do that, we go up to 150,000 and go down 30%. That would bring us down to, where would that bring us down? Right around, getting close, 30, there we go, 105,000. So from 150,000 going down 30% would be 105,000 on it at that point. But then again, that's going to take us, like at least historically here the last year, it would take us a couple months to go down that much. So I'm hoping we don't get that. I'm hoping we get to 150,000, correct 10%, continue to go back up. But that's wishful thinking maybe. We'll see. All right, a couple more questions. Excuse me, catching up. All right. Marcus, I honestly think miners are going to run at the end of the year, like October, December area. Okay. That would be fine with me if they do that at that point, or they could slowly run with Bitcoin here as well. All right. FireX Freak, which companies do you think would be part of Trump's $70 billion AI infrastructure plan in Pennsylvania? I think TeraWulf is also in Pennsylvania. Correct me if I'm wrong there, if I'm not mistaken. I believe they have a site there, so they could benefit from that potentially as well. Trying to think who else is in there. I don't know if BitDeer has any sites in Pennsylvania. Those are the ones I can think of right now that might. Sourman says, you aren't dying on my watch, Zeb. Appreciate that. Yeah, I'm hoping to live for at least another, oh gosh, hopefully at least another 30 years or so, God willing. And then who knows, with the advancements in medicine and if we get AGI, right, artificial general intelligence, could that come up with cures for things? Could we live even longer? Who knows? Maybe humans will live to be 120, 150 years old. And that might be part of my lifetime. So we'll see. I'm looking forward to the future. The future is going to be exciting, at least the next, I would say, probably next 10 to 30 years, right? We have all these advancements happening in robotics and in general AI, basically. Rocketry as well, possibly going to Mars. It's an awesome time to be alive. I mean, there's so much going on that's freaking awesome. I'm excited about it. I'm excited for my kids. My kids are going to see even more wild things probably than I will. I mean, I recall when we had cassette decks, right? We had the Walkmans from Sony. Some of you guys may not even know this stuff. This is going back down to the 80s. those things were huge improvements of what we had before with the 8-track vinyl. Obviously, vinyl, you can carry that. It wasn't portable. You can listen on your way. So that was a huge advancement. Then we had the CDs. After that, we had the MP3s, computers, internet. Oh my gosh, the stuff that I have witnessed in my lifetime, it is astounding. All right. Halo Bomb, is CPI tomorrow? I believe it is. That's what I thought I heard. Yeah, Marcus says, yes, CPI tomorrow. All right. What else we have here? 203 asks a question here. How long did it take miners to recover after last halving in 2020? Also, what do you think the high will be for Cleanspark this year? The halving last time, it took them, the miners were actually going down into the halving last year, or last cycle, where this cycle they were going up with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is also coming down as well. So we had those two things happening at that point before the halving event. After the halving event, the miners were going down a little bit sideways for a number of months. We can probably, I don't know if I can pull this up. Let's see here. I didn't want to do that. Oops, that's not what I wanted. But I know the miners started running probably like right around this time, maybe even faster than that. They were probably running in like May. So this would have been 2021. We had the halving in 2020. I think they were starting to run more in May. Even before that, because we had the double top. They were starting, Bitcoin got to 63,000, what was that, March of 2021? And then we had a dip because of China banning Bitcoin mining, Tesla also stopping accepting Bitcoin for their vehicles. And then we had other things as well, 3 Hours Capital later on, things like that dumped us down. But yes, the miners were actually running up before then, so that would have been like January. Yeah, so they were running already before this time frame at that point. And this time around, we've been kind of languishing. But also this time around, the miners ran with Bitcoin getting to a new all-time high before the halving event. So it's a different cycle. Dynamite says, Seb has a full head of hair before investing in miners. Yeah. I could see the hair falling out investing in the miners. I could see that with all the stress and everything else. I could definitely see that. Actually, I started going bald when, gosh, I was probably 25, 26. Yeah, I just didn't get good genes. Not my choice, obviously. All right, let's see. BA2 question on a relative performance comparison of BTC to miners should also look at market cap comparison. Yeah, market cap is definitely larger than what we had last cycle already. Miners have obviously more shares out, but their market caps, but they're also a lot bigger than they have been before. They have a lot more infrastructure. They have more sites, more assets basically on their books as well. A lot more Bitcoin. Bitcoin price is a lot higher, so that all makes sense. All right. Gary's got a question. Do you have a graph comparing each miner with their 2024 high? Is IREN still only one at 52-week high? I think so. I don't have a, let me see if I got that in that graph that I do have here. In 2024, so I have a graph going from the second half of 2024, which was obviously after the halving event, so the miners were already getting beat down on that. I have it from the beginning of 2024. There, you guys can see that. This one. Okay, so here's a price chart from 1/2/24, which is a couple months before they actually peaked, right? A lot of these guys. CORZ Scientific is up 294% from there. IREN 154. Bitcoin's up 132, so IREN has kind of outperformed it based on that. And then everybody else has kind of languished below that. Somewhere starting to get close to where Bitcoin was, or at least getting close. Hot 8. Who else? BitDeer a little bit. But yeah, still, that's why we need these next 6 months to be really good for us. Not that one. Ugh. Too many buttons on my deck here, Stream Deck. What else we got here? Let's see. Marcus says beepers instead of phones. Yeah, I had a beeper. Pager. We called them pagers. Yeah. You had pay phones. You had quarters for your pay phones. I remember that. There were pay phones like every gas station. Yeah, those were great times. Let's see. Nobody remembers the mini disc. I remember that, but those things were expensive. When I was younger, I couldn't afford that. But those were better quality, I think, than CDs at that point. Why is Cleanspark lagging versus other miners? It's not really lagging. If you look at, depending on the time frame you look at, again, it's all perspective, right? So depending when you look at it, might show that it is lagging or it's not lagging. I think in time it will catch up. Yes, I mean, Cleanspark was obviously a favorite in 2024 when it ran out to $24, and then it pulled back down here. Mara got to 30 some dollars, I think it was, close to $40 before pulling back as well. Riot, same thing, got to 20 some odd dollars, I believe it was, before pulling back down. So a lot of these guys did run quite nicely here, and then, right, we've had the halving event. The halving event is never a fun part for the miners. BLM says, took a screenshot of my gains and soon, shortly after, many disappeared. Yeah, volatility is not our friend here in this space. Sarmelon says, Cleanspark is one of the best performers, not lagging at all. Yeah, it just depends on when you look at it, right? All right. DeFi wire mine is lagging. BTC at 120. Cleanspark is around $12. SMH. Again, a lot of short interest in them as well. So we have some leverage happening here. Going long on one thing, shorting the other thing. That's kind of what we saw. I think the next couple of quarters will be good. Right? As long as Bitcoin goes up in value. We need Bitcoin to be up 150,000 by maybe the end of Q3. And then looking like we're going to be at maybe 200,000 by the end of Q4, somewhere around there. That is going to bring in a lot of revenue for these guys. That's got to have some, I would think, it would have some impact on the stock price because they're going to be generating a heck of a lot of revenue. With Bitcoin being at 200,000, IREN and Cleanspark are going to be generating about 1.3, 1.4 billion annual revenue. That's huge. They can't be still valued at 3 billion, 4 billion, whatever they're at right now. Okay, let's see about that. DeFi asks, are you buying Ethereum? No, I have a little bit of Ethereum that I'm just holding on to. We'll see where that goes. All right, 203 says, if Bitcoin goes back down below 100,000, Cleanspark will most likely go back down to, well, yeah, everybody's going back down at that point, right? So Bitcoin corrects down 10%, 20%, 30%, whatever it might be. These guys are going to do double that. Tree says, Cleanspark always underperforms. Not always. You guys are so pessimistic. All right, EDB. What's the catch with Cango? Market cap of 500 million, and they hold 500 million in Bitcoin plus hash rate of 50 exahash. They do not hold. I don't think they do. Let me see here. What do they hold? Oh, yeah, they do. Okay, so I actually have them at 917 million market cap. Take a look at my screenshot here. I am at 177 million shares outstanding. That gives a market cap of 917 million, right? BTC HODL obviously is, like you said, about 500 million there. So you're correct on that. So HODL market cap is 50.1% on them. But again, like I said, this is the best number I could figure out for them. And I think that's even possibly increased even more. So I think they sold another 40 some million shares here. So that might be going up as well to buy the machines to get to 50 exahash, right? So I really need an update from them as far as where they are with their number of shares on that one. But that's kind of where I have them. All right, let's go back here. DeFi asks, why did Mara sell off after being up 8%? Well, all these guys pretty much sold off after being up 8-10% this morning. Everything went down. Why did IREN go up? Yeah, except IREN was the one exception there that actually went up pretty well. That one is still fighting. It's fighting to get above that 18, what is it at? $18. Let's see, 1728. So it's trying to get above that 1864, which is kind of like that ceiling that's trying to break through here. We tried it twice here right now in the last week or so, right? We did it there, came back down. We did it here. But also Bitcoin price was coming down here. That's a result of that. Bitcoin's now down 2% on the new day, down to 117,000. We'll see if this is trying to scare some people off before we pump some more tomorrow after the CPI data comes out. Let's go back here. All right. Short-term price prediction for IREN. I think it should be valued higher than where it is right now anyways. So I think it should be probably in the low 20s to mid 20s, something like that. Tree says BTC hits AT all-time high. Miners red again. Again, go back a week or so and miners were up 40, 60%. Bitcoin was up 1%. Where were you guys then? Where were you guys complaining that the miners are up 40, 60% and Bitcoin's only up 1%? You guys don't complain when that happens. You guys only complain when this stuff happens. You got to look at both sides of the story there a little bit. Talked about that one. Let's see here. Gary, question. Mara had an 8 billion market cap last cycle, only 6 billion now, but it's more dilution, so shares down 83 to 19. Yeah, they also have a heck of a lot more HODL. They're not really being valued on one or both, or one or the other, HODL and their operations. So which one are they being really valued on? They should be much higher as it is. If we look at their enterprise value to their market cap, it's kind of actually ridiculous there. And then if you add HODL into it, it's even more ridiculous. So they should be actually much higher. But again, is their operations and uptime and cost to mine, is that having an impact on the stock price? Maybe, I don't know. B82 says IREN was up on HPCI. CoreWeave was up. Yep. David from David Alberts, question. Oh, excuse me. Should we all be buying Bitfarms so that we can get Riot out faster? Seems to me everything went sour when Riot stuck their nose in Bitfarms business. It didn't help, right? It definitely did not help. They also had some of their own internal stuff that they had to deal with and work through, unfortunately, to correct the ship, and they did, I believe. Now it's just a matter of getting Riot off their backs and then seeing if they can actually execute on the HPCI strategy and play going forward. All right. What is your price prediction for Cleanspark by the end of the year? By the end of the year, my bottom, bare bones bottom prediction would be if Bitcoin goes to like 200,000, they should at the very least do a 2x. That's the very least, right? Could they do more than that? Yeah, depending on also on where their EPS comes in without the HODL and FSB for the quarter that we just ended. If that's good, that should help the stock there. And Bitcoin price going up in value, that should also help out the things, but I think it would do better than that. All right. Harrison has got a question here. Seb, do you or did you have any hobbies, i.e. baseball cards collecting, comic collecting, etc.? No. You know, we didn't have the money, to be honest with you guys. My parents worked a lot, trying to support us, me and my sister. So they were always pretty much busy. The only hobbies that I had was computers, basically, right? I really got into computers when I was young. Programming, games, all that stuff. I got into that. Hobbies, I got into, I'm trying to think of any other hobbies that I had. Drawing was a hobby of mine when I was younger. Playing guitar, I got into that, so you could call that a hobby, right? Playing that. And then I didn't know it at the time, but as I got older, it's like I was always curious, wanted to learn more, learn this, learn that, building stuff even with tools and wood and stuff like that. You could say that's a hobby also. So those types of things. B82, I've been buying Bitfarms daily. Nice. Let's see. Tom says PSA is starting today to grade comics and magazines besides their usual sports cards and Pokemon. Oh, interesting. Okay. David, question. Hive is undervalued. What price do you think they will hit? I would think they would be much higher if they were being graded equally with all the other miners, as it is. I got some charts we'll look at tomorrow as far as where I think they should be based on the analyst targets for them and where they are right now and how far off they are from that. Also, the only thing I can think of for Hive is great growth this year, fantastic growth this year. Operations should improve. Costs should come down as well as a result of that. But the only thing is they don't have any operations here in the United States. I don't know if that's a drawback or something less positive for them. That's the only thing I can think of why the stock wouldn't do well. Because they have a lot of operations overseas, in Canada, obviously in Paraguay, Argentina as well. And there's some obviously risk to that. So I don't know if that's being priced for that more so than anything else, but maybe in time, they'll get the love that they probably should get from the market itself. Sorry, Melon says, you're also emotional tonight. My God, my Cleanspark and IREN have rocketed the last 3 months hard. I know. See, that's what I've been saying too. All right. Treat. BTC 200,000. Cleanspark hits $14. We'll all celebrate. Come on. Be a little bit more positive. I think it'll be higher than that. I think we'll be above $20. That's the case. At least we should be, at least. All right, Andre's got a question here. Do you have any concerns that the NVIDIA machines IREN recently bought won't see an ROI before they go obsolete? I see the H100, H200s being worthless basically in a year. Then, well, the nice thing about the, what are those things called? Those are the Blackwells, right? Am I right on that? Those things require more specialized equipment to run them, right? You need direct-to-chip cooling. You need a certain number of kilowatts in the rack as well. There's not that many companies that have it right now. Will they cut up? Will they be able to catch up? Yes. In time, like anything else, AI, whatever's going to be in time, as more of it is available to the public, prices are going to come down on things, right? And hopefully at that point, the pricing on the GPUs also comes down, and that would be great. We saw the same thing with the ASIC miners. Even last cycle, I mean, those things were going for $80, $90 per terahash. Now we're seeing $18, $20 per terahash, even though Bitcoin's doing pretty good here, right? You get more competition. Competition leads to lower prices as well. So hopefully somebody's going to be able to give NVIDIA a little run for their money as well, but we'll see who that is or if anybody's able to do that. But in general, as more and more of these things come on, yes, they will obviously generate less revenue for them. Dan has also stated last year on X Spaces that the H100, H200s were looking to be a possibility. Originally, they were like a 2-year ROI timeframe on those, right? So when you bought them, it would take you about 2 years. A couple months go down the road, we asked him the same question about the ROI, return on investment, on those things. Now he's saying 2.5 years, maybe 3 years, right? So that's still not too bad. If you can get a ROI on those in 3 years, if you can run them for 6 years, because I mean, you can still use them for other things. Maybe they're not the most efficient, but you can still run them for AI things. You might not be running them for training or things like that, but you can run them for AI that's been already trained. So you can still use them for those things. And if you can run them for like 6 years, you still got 3 years of where you're making money on it. So hopefully that's not going to be the case here with the Blackwells, and that, you know, being that it is a little bit more difficult to get those things into data centers because of the demands that they have, that would bode well for companies like IREN potentially, that they can do those things and maybe have a little bit of an advantage for at least maybe 1 year to 2 years before others catch up as well, and start offering it to somebody else, right? So that's kind of my thoughts on it. Right, Gary's got a question here. Do you agree with the Bitfarms CEO, Ben, that the Bitcoin mining is dead business at the next halving? Only one profitable miner at 50% drop at halving doesn't seem possible to recover from. Bitcoin mining is dead business at the next halving. I don't think it's dead business, right? Depends where Bitcoin's at. Bitcoin's at 500,000 at the next halving. I don't think it's a dead business at that point. So it just depends where Bitcoin price is, where the network hash rate is, what machines we have available to us as well for ASICs, right? If we get machines that are, I mean, we're seeing some machines coming out right now that are basically 1,000 terahash with efficiency of below 10 or lower even at that point. So in 3 years, could we be even better than that? Could we have machines that are like 2,000 terahash? Possibly, right? As they use smaller nanometer chip sizes on those, we could definitely see an improvement in there. So I don't think it's a dead business yet. And there's, you know, only so much of Bitcoin that's going to be available to be mined here. Bitcoin going up in value, that should help out. And like I said, as long as we don't have these 80% drawdowns in Bitcoin, that might actually be really, really good for the miners who are going long run. But that is yet to be seen. 203 says, I think a lot of us got stuck bag holding Cleanspark in the $14, $15 range. That's why it won't go up, because every time it gets even close to 14, people are selling and getting out. Yeah, I posted that on X basically today, that a lot of people that got in at these prices are possibly selling out, and that's why we're seeing you know, the miners being down today, but there might have been other reasons for it as well. But you're right. There's definitely been a lot of people that got in at those prices, and if those prices got back up to those levels, they would be happy to get basically break even, and they would be out, because it is not an easy ride to hang on to, right? When they're going down from $14 down to $6, wherever they went to, and then back up. So you're down 50, 60%, and you've been holding on to it the whole time. So yeah, but I think once we get past those people that got in at those prices, you know, I think we do go up much, much nicer. All right. Morton's got a question here. Would you reduce Cleanspark to buy Cypher at this point? Depending when you bought into Cleanspark, and then what do you, I mean, Cypher has, some great optionality, right, with the sites that they do have. They are growing their hash rate as well this year, but Cleanspark's bigger. They have more HODL position, and they're continuing to grow here. So, and they're not diluting. For me, I'd probably stick with Cleanspark, and if anything, add on or add a new position in Cypher at this point, because you just never know. One good news story from Cleanspark or even from somebody else could pump them, especially if you have a low price right now in Cleanspark. I would possibly hold on to it, but that's up to you, right? RT, hi Seb, thoughts on Annie, price and business-wise? Thanks. Annie is obviously Sphere 3D there. They haven't reported anything since, I think, like May. So we have no updates from them. I have no idea what's going on with the business there. I do know that they were hosting at one point with Griffin, I believe. Griffin and them, they severed ties. They were hosting with somebody else. They had older machines. I think they had the 100 terahash machines, and they don't have any infrastructure, right? So I'll be surprised if they survive, next year or so on that one. It's just, yeah, I would stay away. TX, do you think the miners will do very well on earnings in upcoming quarters with Bitcoin going to 123,000? I do. I think we'll see a lot of miners with being positive EPS, largely thanks to the FSB impact on it, but they should be, right? There might be two that are able to. I know IREN's going to be able to be positive for sure. Cleanspark is a question mark for me right now. They've been talking about it this year that they want to get to positive EPS without the FSB impact, so we'll see if they can get that in the current quarter that we obviously finished. And then the other miners that have HODL will help them out. So I do think there might be some catalyst there. Mark asked, anyone ordered Solana's Seeker phone? I'm thinking about it. I have not even heard about that. I'll have to look into that one. All right, Sarah Mellon's got a question. You think BTC is selling off because of CPI in the morning? As also, will CPI be good, you think? I think CPI will be flat or maybe down a little bit. I know that gas prices have gone up a little bit during the summer months. I don't know. That might have an impact on it, though. I don't know. We'll see. Whatever it's going to be, I think eventually the Fed's going to have to lower rates, right? So we're looking at possibly September being the time frame when they're going to lower them. So I'm not too worried about it, right? Short-term price things are going to happen. If you're trading, obviously you're concerned about it, but I'm not concerned about it because I'm looking at a much longer time frame than that. So it doesn't really bother me right now. All right. Gary's got a question. Have any miners announced earnings for Q2? Yes, Hut 8 has announced it. They are, when did they say? August something here. Let me pull it up here really quick. Miners, press releases. Where's Hut 8? There it is. So the only one that I've seen here is Hut 8. There it is on that one. They are looking to release that on August 7th. The company will host a conference call and webcast to review the results on the same day at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. So that's going to be coming out. And then we should get more of these guys here. The only one that's going to be kind of late here is going to be IREN, I think. IREN has to do their audited numbers for the end of the year, which obviously ended in June for them. So that might take a little bit more longer to get. So we're looking maybe at the end of August. I would think maybe by the end of August we would see that. But other miners should report like the first couple of weeks of August as well. So we should see that. All right. Let's see what else we got. And I think, let's see here, Dr. Gary. All right, Heinzie. Heinzie's got a question here. Are you still buying Cleanspark and IREN? I bought them, when did I buy them? Last week. Thursday, Friday? When did I buy them? Somewhere around there. I know I bought them last week. I bought some more Cleanspark, IREN as well, and I bought some Bitfarms too. I had some cash left over from those purchases. I wanted to even out my positions on these guys to be like, even 8,000 or even 10,000 shares, whatever it might be. I wanted to have nice even numbers. So I evened out everything basically last Thursday or Friday, whenever I announced it that I bought. So I did buy some more there. Okay. Tom Harrison said, question. I think things must look good for Hut 8 because usually they are late. Well, I think they finally got their stuff all in order. So, and it's not the end of the year for them. So it's not audited numbers. So those are usually a little bit faster to put out. It's just the end of year numbers always take a little bit longer. All right. Let's see. I think that's it. We've caught up to everything. So let's see. Bitcoin's down to 116,009. It is at, it's down 2.48% as it is right now. So let's see. 4-hour chart is coming down on the RSI. 1-hour chart is also down on the RSI to oversold territory. And we might see a little bounce here. We'll see. Market makers are making their move. They're definitely trying to get you to sell your Bitcoin. Do not let them sell your Bitcoin. Okay, I see a couple more questions coming up here really quick. TX says, I remember seeing Cleanspark price targets over $1,200 a share. Who's had that at $1,200? The highest I had them was like at $60 or something like that. That ship is sale. Definitely feel it's undervalued. Should be 50 with Bitcoin doubling since last year. Yeah, I could see 50. I think that would be an outstanding price target for it. Right, Bitcoin gets to 200,000 or something like that. That would be awesome. I'd love to see it. And maybe it can get there. All right, Tom, you're always very welcome. Thanks for coming in as always. Andre says, I feel like IREN doesn't care about an ROI on their HPC machines because they got them basically free from the ATM and they buying them just to get in the game, hopefully a future contract. Well, I think they want to have an ROI on them, right? You don't want to be in business to lose money. And sometimes you just need to learn things. And the way you learn things is you buy things and, get them installed, set them up, see how things work, learn from those things. So, right, nobody's going to have all that knowledge right off the bat. All right. Sadie, you're very welcome as always. Thank you as well for coming in here. Andre, we're going to get smoke tomorrow, down 50%, maybe 20, or wow. And some miners, okay. Well, didn't want to end on a bad note, but I guess we'll leave it there. Let's see what else we got here. Somebody rescue us here. Soda Head, do you think Cleanspark pump or dump today? Well, it was down today a little bit. We'll see where we go. We'll see where Bitcoin goes down. I mean, right now, what are we at after hours right now? Let's see on the after hours really quick. What's going on here? BitTier right now in after hours is down 2.9 roughly. Bitfarms is down 2.7. Cango is actually up 0.58%. Cypher is down 3.8. Cleanspark is down, where is it going to end up at? Down going down to 2, down 2.3%. Core is actually up. Hive is down 1.7%. Hut 8, all right, that's rebalancing. It's down 1.67%. IREN down 1.62. Mara is down 2% roughly. Yeah, still trying to figure itself out. Wow, okay, 2.5, wow. A lot of trading going on in that one because this thing's trying to catch up. Down 2.39%. Riot is down 2. Oh, that's catching up too. Where is it at? Come on. Get all the trades in. Catching up 3%. Well, okay, Riot's down 3.36% right now. And Wolf is down 0.2%. So we'll see where we end up at. Again, if I had more cash, I'd be buying the dips. I spent my cash last week, so I got to build up some cash positions again in order to buy more. Maybe in a couple of weeks I'll be able to buy again on that. All right, let's see what else do we have here. Turning into a waterfall, capitulation in Bitcoin. Let's see, pull that up. All right, Andre says turning into a waterfall, capitulation in Bitcoin. Nah, I don't think it's capitulation in Bitcoin. I think it's just the market makers. Let's see, Trouble Guy says, hopefully not rest in peace miners, but if not up by the end of the year, I'm out. Yeah, I mean, if Bitcoin's at 200,000, miners are still lagging around where they are right now, I'll be out too, to be honest. Moving into something else at that point. Devin says, it's so Jover, just kidding, I still have faith. Yeah, it's, little dips here and there, I'm not too worried about it. Sarmon says, 20% green. All right, we're finishing it on a good note. All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you all for coming in as always. Love you all. I hope you guys have a great Tuesday and a great week as well. And we'll see where we get tomorrow with the CPI data, right? Do we bottom out by that and then go up after that? We'll see. We'll see where we end up at. All right, that's it. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.